New minimum wage, practicality and implication is the topic for today's discussion.
The bone of contention, the disparity between the government and the labor. Government has already decided that this is what they wanted to pay. Maybe, let's say 65,000 by the least person in a month. And the labor is talking about paying 615. So that is the problem that is facing the two parties right now.
So how can they now come to a common ground?
To come to a compromise is that the labor will have to shift their sword. The federal government also have to shift their own sword.
Perhaps they should increase from that 65 a little, and the labor should also come down.
Yeah, but
food is very expensive. And all that, and it's the same minimum where they used to buy food to feed the children, basically that's just analyzed. But I'm saying that no problem with that, the solution. Let them see, negotiate further. Let the federal government look at this issue, the analysis. All right, welcome back. We're still discussing the new minimum wage, practicality and implications. That's what we're discussing. How the labor themselves should shift ground and government also shift ground. Being realistic that what they are proposing will not really go anywhere. This is the truth of the matter. Our government people must reason in this line. That the 65,000 that they are proposing as minimum wage will not go anywhere. Just one bag of rice is still costlier than 65,000. So what about other things? How do they take care of their children? How they talk about health and all that thing? So let our government be really, really realistic, not just because it doesn't affect us. Yes, you have enough with you, but think of these same people. And then if the government shift their ground, I think the labor people will also come to that level of understanding too, that okay, let's take this. And maybe after 2 years, increase again little by little. And let us put it into practice, not just say it and it will just remain there. Now, so if the above is done, if the government and the labor, organized labor come to a compromise, you say, would the minimum wage improve on the welfare of workers and the economy?
Yeah, the minimum wage may improve in the welfare of the workers.
And the economy as well.
And yes, both of them, I'm going to separate them in a way. So in the welfare of the worker, it makes sense in the sense that there will be liquidity. What is liquidity? Enough cash for you to be able to access whatever you want to access for. So, for example, when somebody is paid 50,000 and then he has an increase of 70,000, so you see that what he can afford to do with money, what he can afford to play with money is there. So the individual worker will be able to take care of his expenditures, take care of some certain things he has needed, and also make a little savings for tomorrow. So that is the advantage. Because, for example, if there is cash for you, you can eat well, your children can feed well, you can give them good education, you can do all things better. You can make some travels and then have a little to dash some relatives who are dependent on you. Yeah. So that is the advantage of having to have enough cash as your remuneration. But then, to the economy also, it will equally have an improved services, because when I am paid well and you are paid well, I believe that our spirit is boosted. We have the moral, we have that motivation to be able to put in our best into that system. So the productivity will increase.
Definitely.
Yeah, it will increase in the sense that everybody is working with their heart. The GDP, that will now inform the growth of the GDP for the nation, and as well as having adequate and perfect sincere services, rendered to the government or to individual that employed you or something like that. So when somebody is well taken care of, you can give better. Then the economy will robust.
Yes,
but it has adverse effect also, in the sense that if, for example, let's assume that in a particular state in the north, when they are not able, the state government is not able to pay that particular amount of stipulated minimal wage, and then there will be truancy. Sometimes they will not be owing salaries. And then when they are owing salaries, the workers will begin to suffer. Yeah, the problem is not yet solved. Workers will begin to suffer. But what it means is that you have to put a run on all stakeholders. You have to now increase your capacity, look inward, and to be able to discover where they can raise or find resources in order to be able to obtain, to pay that which you you need to pay. Then that is 1.2. Some of them who are not able to pay will equally begin to downsize.
Yeah,
so that means a lot of people will lose their jobs. A lot of people will be redundant because when you cannot afford to pay, you are indirectly cannot afford to employ. So, and then if you don't employ, many youths, many individuals, the working class, or those who are able to work, are not given the opportunity to work because there's nobody employing them. And there's no, even if they are employed, they work like as if on debt. I've seen so many times they say federal government is owing or state government is owing this particular ministry 5 months, 3 months, 2 months, and all of that. So that means that the adverse effect of having too much money increased into the coffers of the employee will be that most of the people will lose their jobs. Most of the government will undersize, their number of employees, and also production will be lesser.
Of course.
Then in the concept on the aspect of the individual, so in the society, for example, there will be what we call inflation, because a lot of money, inflation just simply defined as if when so much money is facing a little commodity in circulation. So when there is a lot of money, automatically the Nigerian thing that we are saying, we play it out, because every opportunity that is granted to this nation will become another thing for another person. Wow. So one person will cry for such opportunity, another person will be happy in that opportunity. So now, if there is a lot of money, people will automatically begin to devise a means of hoarding goods. Enough for that there'll be less, goods in circulation. The concept of this supply and demand will begin to come in, because much supplies will not be there, whereas the demand is higher
than the supply.
So than the supply. So eventually, the same money is going to be, taken away by those kind of systems, a gimmick and gimmick systems. That is, when the little is there, then the rich are, or probably you now see people creating artificial scarcity. That's what I'm saying. Artificial scarcity will not mean that hoards will be there. So for you to be able to buy things costly again, you find out that those things we are trying to be afraid of will resurface itself.
It's really all encompassing.
It has a lot of pros and cons.
That is where the federal government and the organized labor will really put all these things, indices, into consideration.
There are so many factors that needed to be put to bear, because one, the individual Nigerian, the individual worker, the orientation of our nation, how to have a rebirth. I wouldn't know if we can say, would we ask God to change us, or do we change ourselves? Because every opportunity will make somebody to cry. It will also make somebody to be happy. Exactly. So what do we do? How do we go forward? No matter the amount of money you give to them, somebody will sabotage the system. Some of them will go and hoard all of this stuff that we're looking at, and they will begin to buy it at a higher price again. In other words, making that mess of the purpose of increasing that salary. You are binding, and some will be losing. They will be losing. You want to tighten this way, now that someone else is opening holes the other way. That's what we have here. So all of them in quest of making this money, having money. Oh, this opportunity, let us. So I think they really need to sit down, these two, government and look at this holistically. And again, I think that if government will put a stake to their particular level at which they are believing, they are offering to the nation, they will only have to have a way of making sure that there's a regulation. Maybe price control regulations. In some other advanced countries, whatever you buy in, for example, in one state, you buy it in another state. The same price. So if there's a way, government will make sure that those things are there. Therefore, nobody will truncate the purpose for which all of these are being
and
done.
The effort the government themselves are also making,
and the labor that is crying for them, for themselves, will not be in vain. So there must be checkmating measures by which these things will be applied. That's true. What I'm thinking.
So we'll take a break now, then we enter question and answer session. Vivid View.
See and do it. What gives birth to relationship first is love.
Somebody lost his wife, not his first wife. The next question is, why did his first wife die and the second wife die? We have no emotional balance, no emotional control.
Ladies will say, I don't like this man. Why don't you like him? He doesn't beat me. Because my father used to beat my mother.
In Nigeria, we have about 2.2 million people living with disabilities.
Wonderful.
We have the adults who are going through so much stress today, and they can't even have their head up in the society.
You that is bad, you are hitting your wife all the time. Stop beating. Don't turn your wife to punching bag.
Join us every Sunday on Vivid View with Eunice.
You see me, they wear native. It is a planner. It's in a fashion. Anywhere they do their enter chop rice.
I know go give up till it go better for me.
My name is Akiboboye Jones. My question goes like this. How will federal government enforce the minimum wage compliance on private companies?
My name is Grace Williams. My question is, why the delay for the Organized Labor Congress to speak the mind of the masses before reviewing the minimal wages when the government can do the right thing?
My name is Prince Afra. So my question is, how does the government plan to make sure that other states imply to this new minimum wage as fast as possible? And the second question is, how does the new minimum wage affect inflation rates?
Welcome back. A lot of questions from the audience. So please, our guests, provide the answers.
The first question by Mr. Kimboboye is asking, how can government implement new minimum wage to the private parastatals? Actually, when we talk about minimum wage by the federal government, we are looking at federal government public servants' wages, both state, local government, and the federal government. So federal government might not be able to induce, or probably might not be able to enforce or to ask the private parastatals a particular minimum wage. The reason is this: they need the individual parastatals, they know their capacities, their differences is each company is different from another company. So their resources, their income, their output is different. It's not determinable by what the government own is. The indices by which you can determine what individual companies could do is different from what you can determine from what the federal government has. So invariably, they are freelance companies. Okay. So their wages is determined by what their company worth, how they are able to work, what they are able to assess, how they are able to make their gains. In most cases, you discover that most of these private companies pay higher than the government.
Yeah.
For instance, those who are working in oil companies, let's say any of those oil companies, they pay in millions, more than whatever government could pay. So eventually, government will not determine for them what they should pay, because if government should ask them to pay that minimum wage, that is to say, you are telling that company that is making the workers happy, who is paying 1 million, to come back and pay 65,000. So that is to say, what they do is the individual company is able to pay according to his coffers, according to his aim, according to his product, according to his input. Okay. So it will be difficult. But though the federal government can make them have the sense of not paying lower than what government is paying by creating some avenues, creating some avenues that will make those people reduce cost of production, cost of their work and services. For example, some of these, I said before, when they pay multiple taxation in everything, government can reduce tax from those companies, create ease of doing work. A way ease of doing businesses in the nation can be reduced. The facilities that they get can be reduced. Services they pay to the government can be reduced, so that they would not make a little bit of income from what all those things are, in order to add it to augment to what they pay. So government could create a platform wherein a lot of bills that they pay, some of them pay taxes, extreme taxes to government. So when those things are ameliorated, they will be able to have access to be able to pay that. But government cannot pin it and say it must be so amount that the federal government is paying. No. So the next question is talking about why government wait is wait for the labor to determine what they are going to do. Now, I said it before, government is not waiting for anybody. Government is dynamic. Each section of government that comes, they go, they come and go. And I've said it before that when I was telling you about 1991, so amount was paid, 250 was paid. These are government. They have been consistent in thinking on what to pay or how to pay or reviewing this minimal wages. So they are on the forefront of doing that. They are not waiting for anybody, maybe labor or you as an employee. They are already on it. But the only contention we're having now is that when they propose what they desire to pay, then labor will say maybe it's not okay by them. Labor is not saying it's not okay because they are greedy. No, they are considering the factors that we are facing in this nation. The issues of insecurity, the issues of non-availability of things, the high price of, maybe fuel, high price of, service rendering and all of that. So what the bills that they pay, that is why it necessitates them being as if they are arguing with government. If all things being equal, they wouldn't say they are arguing.
Of course.
So it would have been okay. So then that is that. In other words, the summary is that they are not waiting for anybody to tell them what they should do. They are already on it. They have been on it all this while. And again, the other question from Prince Afram says, he said, how can the federal government, make other states to comply as fast as it is possible? One, the federal government is the one giving all the states, 36 states in Nigeria, including Abuja, is giving them subvention. That we call it, from the general coffers of the nation, they will now say the share, the allocations to different percentage to each state. Sometimes they say the state that bat it much will take more, and the other state will take so like that. So if government do not default in remitting this, federal government do not default in remitting these resources to that state government, so the state government will be able to run it. But if they default by delaying those money going to the state and all of that, they will not have to do that. So federal government will be able to say, immediately the money comes, they should dispatch it. Then also federal government will help all of those states to be able to look inward, support them financially, support them, what if it involves giving them bonds, loans, so that they can look inwards and develop other sources by which they can raise revenue. Are you getting it? So these are the help that they can do to state government. And then again, there should be a policy that will pin down that every state that is not able to do this, punishment should be laid down. But that is not in the absence of wanting to know the capacity of that state. You cannot tell a state that is not producing anything, that does not have enough, that's only solely depending on what the federal government gives him. And maybe the volume of the workers he has is even greater than another state that has all. And therefore, you're not asking to go and pay what other is paying, and you are forcing him. It might not be possible. So there is a whole holistic way of approaching all of these things in order to create successes. Then you now said again, you are also asking again, how can they implement it into the private sectors? But I have said it before, regulating inflation. As you say, how can they regulate inflation? Yes, when this new minimum wage is paid, for government to regulate inflation, I said, they have to create a whole lot of bureaucracies, a whole lot of organizations manned by government, laws, enactment, that will be able to say, create law that will be able to checkmate all of these loopholes. Because, for example, inflation is surely there. It will surely come. But if, for instance, a government says, okay, there is scarcity. Inflation is talking about when the money is much and the demand will be higher. And the demand is higher, the supply will be lesser. Now, if the supply is lesser, there are many things that causes the supply to be less. One of those things is that when the supply is lesser, because a lot of hands has bought it, therefore, there is no much production coming in circulation. For example, if we talk about rice, and federal government have not been able to generate sources where Nigeria can generate its own or produce its own rice, you cannot take it wisdomly to ask them to relax the borders, wherein the government will allow importers to bring in that in the interim. Meanwhile, while government is planning to produce theirs, those who importers will be allowed to bring more. So when there are things coming more, there will be competition. When there is competition, a lot of prices will be crashing down.
Yes,
are you getting it?
Yes.
Now, two, you also create an atmosphere wherein the farmers will be protected. You know, from all these insurgencies. Security has to be curbed because if you must produce, especially in the agri sector, you must give them security. As of today, if you go to the farm, they are afraid maybe you'll be adopted by other kidnappers, hoodlums, bandits, and whatever, terrorism and all of that. So you have to make sure that security will be in place so that people will go to farm, produce more, bring it out, and then pull out that force of inflation. People beginning to hide, can no longer hoard things. Then this security is there. You have to fight security by the federal government. Two, they have to allow the borders to be a little bit porous, open, so that things will come in. Things that we are not ready as a state, as a government to provide should come in the interim, waiting for
what they call essential commodities.
That's essential commodities. Like I said, much essential commodities will be relaxed. Then two, they also allow some kind of incentives to manufacturers, companies, and all of that. Support locally made, companies. Those companies that needed support should be supported so that they will have the boost to create production. We've been so much far back as a consuming nation. We are not producing nation. They should discourage all about consumption and encourage production in the nation.
Thank you so much for providing answers to the questions that are asked by the audience. So many ways to go around. That's why I said earlier that the best to choose for the government should shift grant and then organized labor to also shift grant so that they can come at a common plan and then bring some of these laws and to be able to implement some of these indices we just noticed because it goes round. If you knock here, if you don't see the other one, you also be affected. So these plans should be together, and that will also reduce the inflation. Inflation is already too high. It's almost above 30% already in Nigeria. So it's quite high. But if you don't put all these things in place, no matter the increase in the minimum wage you're talking about, it looks as if nothing is done.
The money will be wasted.
So we will make sure that how we can get food, how we can encourage the farmer to go back to the farm and produce, that there's enough, that they will not contend anymore with herdsmen and all those that are killing them and all that.
Release facilities.
Yeah, exactly.
So that fund can be given to manufacturers, industrialists,
entrepreneurs.
When we
put all this one into consideration, we'll be able to surmount this problem we're talking about, and this minimum wage will now make sense. Honestly, if we don't do anything to these things we mentioned, the minimum wage will not make sense. It looks as if nothing really
somewhere we sabotage the ideas.
And nothing really happened. So thank you so much for that. What do you know of your parting words so that we'll wrap up?
Yeah, my parting word is that both the labor and the government should take the view of the common man, in their heart.
Yes.
So from the perspective of the common man's interests, let the two of them come to that direction. Because a lot of this, they say when two elephant fights, it is the grass that always suffer. The common man, the widow, the less privileges, the fatherless, the orphans, they are all at the heat of all of this. So if whatever they are doing, let them take consideration that these people are there and they are in the majority. It is very few of them that is celebrating up there, but some of these poor masses are there waiting for help. Also getting to note that whatever you do in this life, you are bound to give, you are bound to give an answer to it. If you are a leader, please know that God brought you into the nations wherever you belong, that you should lead his own people. So at the end of the day, lead them with the fear of the Lord, lead them with concern, lead them with passion, lead them with love, provide what they need. And then the labor that is striking for them, let it not be for their own self-aggrandizement. Let it be that they will also work effectively. Do not jeopardize, neither do you sabotage the production concept and system of the government, and as that which will affect the individuals. Everything we do in this world is temporal. We are also going to die one day. So if you are aware that you are going to die one day, live right, do right, play right, and have a good legacy for yourself.
Because there must be accountability on the part of the government and the part of our organized labor as well. That the fight you find yourself from your heart actually to help the masses, not for your own selfish need as well. This is also very, very key. Thank you so much, Dr. Akinwa, for your contribution so far. And I want to thank our audience for your time, our viewers at home, production crew, executive producer, and of course, our sponsors. I want to thank you for always being there for us. And I want to invite now artist Marvin Vick to sign out this program. Join us next week, another better edition. I am Achilles, the praying mother of the nation. Bye. Vivid View. See and do it.
My girl are too fine. When she come around, she make a time stop. Oh baby, what's up? I dey feel your vibes non-stop. And for your mother, we die like Romeo and Juliet stunt. Call if you know doubt me, I go love you from dusk till dawn. Like a jasmine, she a smell so nice. And she dey like me, she dey on her grind. With her talent, she dey take over the town. No be small matter, the matter go far. Turn a sad mind to a joy river. With her talent, she dey take over the area. And yeah, I don't cast too. She turn a bad man to a saint. She turn a bad man to a lover, yes. Turn a man to a believer. You know I don't cast too. She turn a bad man to a saint. She turn a bad man to a lover, yes. Turn a man to a believer.
Fresh out. Good girl with a bad man. She made the preacher how to be cruise man. The way you move your body give me goosebumps. And your heart beats so nice I wanna sing on. You make me do things I don't do before. Up in the cage you try to get your breakfast. You break past but the other girls no fit touch. Let me give you the love that you never had before. Baby you so cute like Baby you so cute like I'm a grown cute, just give me a minute. I told the other girls forget it. But they still want the boy, they don't get it. Say you did my heart like the blood, baby. This not me, yawa with the fat for belly. If you don't get it, forget it.
Like a jasmine, she a smell so nice. And she did like me, she did on her grind. With her talent, she did take over the town.
But they still want the boy, they don't
get it. No be small matter, the matter go far. Turn a sad mind to a joy river. With her talent, she did take over the area.
Fresh out.
And yeah, I don't gas too. She turn a bad man to a saint. She turn a bad man to a lover, yes. Turn a man to a believer. Yeah, I don't gas too. She turn a bad man to a saint. She turn a bad man to a lover, yes. Turn a man to a believer. She make a time stop, but anytime she come around, then we go church. She said the vow, must start to laugh. Say you want love, you for life, you for life. You want love, you for life, you for life. She make a time stop, but anytime she come around, then we go church. She said the vow, must